I see everyone rushing to the fact that Gen Z is probably screwed for so many reasons, and there's probably too many for me to even get into just in this video alone. But I think the thing people are missing is how screwed Gen Alpha will be. Because, as a member of Gen Z, we were like the first generation to really grow up with phones, like actual phones. And I'll be honest, it totally ruined our generation, plain and simple. But like, you think about all the reasons it's so bad on Generation Z. Like, we're not doing good socially, we're not doing good mentally. We have all of these growing problems that are only going to get worse in our adult life. But like, Gen Alpha will have that, but like 10 times worse. Because we grew up on YouTube, on Netflix, all that kind of stuff, like constantly feeding into our minds and just kind of like changing us in ways that nobody could have predicted would have happened, because the phone usage was so new. But the thing I'm worried about is, we grew up with all this new stuff, but we didn't grow up with short form content. And you can have all these discussions on whether you think phone usage is good or not, whatever. That's not the point of this video. The point I want to make is Generation Alpha, they're growing up, instead of consuming, just the phone, just like the long form videos, the games, all that shit. They're going to be growing up consuming short form content from a young age. And I think about how short form content has messed me up after like only 2 years of not even a consistent use of it. And I think how that's going to affect a kid, who's still growing, who their brain is still developing like at a much faster rate, who's going to use it for their entire childhood into their teen life instead of just 2 years. Like, what is that going to do to them? Like, it's genuinely just like scary to think of like how screwed my generation is, and then think about the generation that comes after. How bad is it going to be for them? Because we don't even know how bad it's going to be for us. And I think that is like terrifying to think about. Like, imagine I have a kid right now, and he's going to grow up probably with a phone, and how that's going to affect him. Like, what problems will specifically short form content or whatever gets invented next to further impair the people growing up, the people with their brains still being worked on, still being developed as they grow up. And I just think it's gonna get worse and worse and worse. And I don't think there's really anything we can do about it, because the world is so connected now. You need a phone really to be a full member of society, to have the full experience, to know what's going on. And like, what is that going to do for the next generation? Because as it stands now, Gen Z is already way going off the deep end. But I just, like, the thought of the next generation, like, we're not even thinking about them yet because we're so preoccupied trying to figure out what's going on with Gen Z. But I'm just, like, I don't even know what to say. And I don't even know, like, what's going to happen with that. But just a point I wanted to make.